Ultra. I have been incredibly excited to get this phone because I'm somebody who wants a tablet, but who also wants a phone at the same time and who doesn't want to have to carry around two. Also, in the American market, if you want to have a tablet, you have to have one SIM card, and if you want to have a phone, you have to have another SIM card. So for me, I thought this might be an interesting thing to try out because I can use my phone SIM card in this tablet-like phone thing and not have to pay for two different plans. This is going to be kind of like a pseudo unboxing today because I got a new camera and I was playing around with the camera and I was really excited. So I kind of unboxed this and had a chance to play with it. So more or less this is an impressions video of all the things that I've had a chance to look at over the last couple of days. Let's go ahead and open the box. So one thing that I have noticed is that if you get this from somewhere like Negri, they're not going to give you that neat expansion kit. I think in some areas of the world, I know that the people in India are getting one that comes with a stand and it also comes with a really nice case. But unfortunately, you can't get that package everywhere, so this is just the phone. Let's go ahead and open it. Huge box. So this is the HSPA Plus version. The LTE version is going to be out sometime in September, although I'm really wondering how that's going to affect battery life. So here we have the absolutely huge, gigantic tablet in a nice sultry black. Let's go ahead and put this one down. I'll show you what else you get in the box in a second. But here we have the S4, and this is the Galaxy Note 2, and we have the HTC One. So you can see just how large this phone is. It's just insane. It may be the largest of all the phones that we see here, but it is also the thinnest. This is such a thin phone. And yes, now it is very, very big, but it is actually not all that heavy. The perceived weight is really not bad at all. I think it's just a little bit heavier than the Note 2, but honestly, it feels about the same to me. So if you were able to handle the weight of the Note 2 in pocket, hopefully this one won't be so bad as well. I'm going to try putting this in my pocket so that you can see this. It's really ridiculous. I think that somebody who has man jeans, or if you've got cargo jeans, I think that you will be okay, although it's quite pointy. Here we have it on top of the original Nexus 7. The Nexus 7 2013 edition is on its way yonder to France, so I still have the older version for comparison. Look-wise, this looks like a small tablet, but for me, it doesn't feel like a tablet in the hand. It just feels like an abnormally large phone with gigantism. Now it's time for a pocket test. I haven't done one of these in a while. So we have this huge, huge phone. It's like the size of my leg. This is so huge. This is just ridiculous. But I don't mind because it's such an awesome phone. So I'm going to try to take it and place it in my pocket. Look at that. Success. Oh yeah, this looks so good, doesn't it? Except for it's kind of just hitting me right in the side, so I would not be able to walk around and sit down with this. It would just stab me. But you can see I can put the shirt down over it if you're a guy who wears, you know, your baggy shirts with your jeans. I don't think you should have much of a trouble. Hey, look at that. But otherwise, this would be the Galaxy Note 2 next to that. That's just, I thought that the Galaxy Note 2 was big. I really did at one point. Blump. So this I could actually sit with and stuff. It would kind of just nicely sit alongside my thigh here, but no, this one won't do the same thing. Us ladies are lucky at least to have a purse. I will probably be putting this in the purse. It also has an accessory that works kind of like a receiver for the phone. So that way you can keep this guy in your bag and you can still use functions of your phone. So if you've got a man purse or a briefcase or a purse, then I think you should be fine with this device. But otherwise, you're going to have to come up with some creative method of keeping this on your person. Now, despite its huge, gigantic, obnoxious size, this is actually my favorite phone on the market right now, and it's what I'm going to be using now for my daily driver. Now, as for what's in the rest of the box, we just have this little insert thing here. There's a bunch of manuals and SAR information. All of this is in Chinese. This came from Negri, but it looks like they have the Hong Kong version. And then we just have this other little insert. And you can see there's definitely no case or anything special in this box. You've got this large European adapter. This looks like it's the British one. Now, Negri is nice enough to give you an adapter so that you can use it for whatever country that you are living in, should you buy this unlocked from them. An interesting thing is that they only give you a 1,500 milliamp charger. The output is only 1,500 milliamps or 1.5 amps. The Galaxy Note 2 and even the Galaxy S4 come with a 2-amp charger, so I'm going to have to see how fast this is able to charge it, but so far I've just been using the Note 2 charger for this guy here, and it seems to be doing pretty alright with charging. I like that it really doesn't take all that long to charge up. Even when you're using it, it still charges. That's one thing with the Galaxy S4 that I notice is that when you are using the Galaxy S4 and you're trying to charge it at the same time, it kind of just crawls or doesn't charge at all, and it looks like this guy is at least charging. They also give you some earbud gels and a clip, a lapel clip. You've got your earphones. I have to test these out. And they come with a little microphone on there as well. And, you know, standard USB cable. Putting all that aside, now as for taking a look around the device, the first thing that I notice is that it is quite a bit of a fingerprint magnet. You can see those fingerprints all over the place. If you're somebody like me who tends to have moist fingers, then you might have to be constantly wiping it to try to make it look nice and fingerprint clean. I just changed the exposure to make a point as to how many fingerprints are on this thing. They're just kind of everywhere. Now, Sony does kind of a weird thing. Instead of just having the glass, just the nice smooth glass, this is probably Dragon Trail glass, I'm betting you that they're using the Dragon Trail, they put a screen protector or a shatterproof film on top of the glass. So you're not having a chance to actually touch the glass at all. You have a shatterproof sheet on the front and on the back. They officially call this a shatterproof sheet covering scratch-resistant glass, although how would they really know how scratch-resistant this is because you never get to touch it? That is one thing that really annoys me, is that these shatterproof sheets, because they're plastic, they scratch no doubt a lot easier than the glass that's underneath it. Since they do such a good job applying this plastic shatterproof screen protector, a lot of people can't see it on there. They never know that it's on there, and they get very upset when they see that the device is starting to scratch in places. So if you see that your device is scratching really easily, don't worry about it. It's just the screen protector. The thing is that when you remove the screen protector on the Xperia Z, it actually removed the Sony logo, and underneath there is no oleophobic layer. There's no reason to have an oleophobic layer underneath this plastic screen protector, because you always have this plastic screen protector on it. So if you end up seeing that it's getting a lot of scratches and you don't care to get rid of the Sony logo that's on here, sure, you can pull off that plastic screen protector and just go ahead and apply another one on there. But if you're somebody who doesn't want to have the Sony logo removed, I recommend getting a plastic screen protector to put on top of your plastic screen protector, which I think degrades the quality a little bit of the screen. On the side here, we have a headphone jack that is now open. On the original Xperia Z, the headphone jack had a flap over it in order to keep it waterproof. This is IP68 certified, so it goes down to 1.5 meters in the water for a half hour. Some people are saying a little bit longer than a half hour, but official word, 1.5 meters down in the water, up to 30 minutes. But I find it very curious now that they have the headphone jack open. On the Galaxy S4 Active, once water went into here, the headphone jack always thought that there was headphones in it until it was completely dried out. Now, I went and I put this in the water and I didn't see it doing that same behavior. I'm going to be doing more testing, but it looks like it's not having that same problem. You've also got a little place here to put your SIM card and also your microSD card. Just like with the original Xperia Z, it just has this little O-ring here, and that's supposed to keep it nice and waterproof. You've got your power button right here, which is kind of in an awkward place, but because this phone is so big, you're most likely going to have your thumb more or less touching it somewhere around here. Below it is the volume button. Now, this is probably the worst placed button that I've ever seen. I can barely ever find this. I don't know if I'm touching the power button or if I'm getting to that volume rocker. Then you've got a little lanyard hole at the bottom, which is interesting. I guess that's so that you can hang something like a stylus. You've got nothing on the other edges. You've got some pogo pins for charging. And then right here you have your micro USB port. And again, that has one of these rubber O-rings to keep water out. What I liked better with the original Xperia Z is that the Xperia Z had glass on the side. It gave it a really premium feel. This is just plastic on here, although on the white one it looks more silver-like. So the black one looks a bit more plasticky than the white one, I think. On the back, yes, you don't have a flash. It's 8 megapixels. I've used it. I have a couple pictures. The pictures are just okay. It really doesn't compete that much with anything else in the market, I don't think, especially when you start going into low light. I start seeing a lot of noise and a lot of grain. But otherwise, I think it'll fare well in good lighting. But if you're getting this phone for the camera, realize that it is more or less an afterthought. You've got an LED notification light right there. This is your Sony logo, and like I said, if you remove this screen protector, the Sony logo is going to come off. You've got your front-facing camera here. Now looking at the logos and insignia on the glass, it actually looks like this is below the glass, the same as Xperia. It looks like this is the only one that's going to come off if you take the screen protector off. On the top here, you have a microphone. Right here is your receiver. You've got another microphone right here at the bottom, and then right here next to your lanyard hole is the only speaker on the entire phone. Now, unfortunately, this is a very small speaker. It's very soft and it's very quiet. I was really hoping that this wasn't the only speaker. It almost looked like this was a speaker as well on the top, but no, this is a microphone. And this is the only speaker. So if you're someone who's watching a lot of content, I think it's a little bit of a bummer because it becomes very hard to enjoy your content with a speaker this small. But at least the good thing is that when you put headphones in, it seems to be of really good quality. Unlike something like the Galaxy S4 that had a really poor upsampling algorithm and it just sounded kind of artifacty. It wasn't so good, but the audio on this, on my initial test, sounded pretty clear. I'll be doing further tests to see if there's any distortions or if it has any trouble, but I think that the experience is pretty darn good when you're sitting there watching your videos with your headphones plugged in. The colors that this display can produce are nothing short of incredible, which is why I absolutely love this phone. It is such a different, interesting media experience. It's like having a phone with a Super AMOLED display without any of the downfalls such as having burn-in. And that is thanks to the tri-luminous technology, which is quite interesting. I'm going to be looking more into it and talking a lot about it as I start analyzing the display and a lot of other things with this device. But I'm telling you, when you are watching content, the colors pop like nothing that you have ever seen before. It has a lot to do with the processing of this display, or possibly even it might be calibration. But I will get into all of that later, and you can see if this is something that you like or not. This is just absolutely amazing, the way that the colors pop from this display. Also, what's nice is that this isn't like the Xperia Z, the original version, because with the original version, it had really poor viewing angles, and you can see that the viewing angles are actually pretty darn good on this display. When I'm turning it, I'm not seeing color shifting at all. So now I am in my closet. I'm going to be doing a demonstration to show you something that I have noticed with this device. Now look at this picture. This is really, really nice. The blacks look really nice and punchy. The colors are super rich. It's just incredibly beautiful, right? I mean, who wouldn't like this? But now look at something. When you start turning it from an angle when it's not head on, you can see that the light is really bleeding on all sides. The thing is that it's actually very even light bleeding, so it's not like it's a defect where it's a splotchy light bleed. So I'm wondering if this is a property of this type of technology or a property of this display, or if this is just one display from one manufacturer and this is the only display that does this, or if this is a defect. Now I have turned the light off, and just look how bright this is. Look how blue and bright this is. I was watching some movies in the dark like I normally do, and I like to watch a lot of dark-themed kind of movies. Like Law & Order SVU, for example. It's a lot of dark themes. It's a set in shadow most of the time. So what I noticed is that the blacks were just way too bright. So I got very suspicious, and I did some measurements, and I found out that the contrast ratio of this display is only about 690 to 1. Now that's really not a good contrast ratio at all. For a good contrast ratio, just say I have the HTC One as well. I did some measurements on that display, and I found out that the contrast ratio for that display is a little bit over 1,000 to 1. That's twice as much, the contrast ratio. The brighter the blacks, the worse the blacks look. So at 600 to 1, that is not very nice at all, which means it just looks too bright. That becomes very distracting during movies, and as I had showed you, when you turn it to the side, you start really seeing that light bleed. So if you look at this display from anything but head on, just say a slight angle, just like now, you can start to see that the light bleeds. So if you're watching darker content, the content washes out entirely and you can't see it anymore. So this is a very big concern to me. You can see that now the display is white. Turn it and now it is black again. So if you have this device, please go into a closet or a dark room, find a completely black image, turn it up to 100% brightness, and see if your black levels look decent to you. Because immediately at looking at this, it's just way too bright. Now, as far as battery life on this guy, I was pretty worried because it's 3,050 milliamp hours, where you have the Galaxy Note 2 at 3,100 milliamp hours, and it's smaller with a smaller screen, and a less powerful processor. But surprisingly, I had done one of my crazy things where I just use it straight until it dies. I was able to get 7 hours out of it. Worst case scenario, really, really heavy use, like never turning it off. And I got 5 hours and 1 minute of screen time. And you can see here that I'm just at 4% ready to charge it again. So 5 hours of screen time on a device this big is nothing to snuff at. That's actually a pretty decent battery life. I made sure to keep the screen brightness on something decent so it wasn't using so much power. And I also didn't have this on the endurance mode either. I just had it running regularly with all my emails and everything, and it seemed to last just fine. Sorry, I called it endurance mode. It's actually called stamina mode. So if you are to put it in stamina mode, you're basically putting the Wi-Fi to sleep so that there is no network connection. It's not constantly running data services in the background. You're disabling all data services and Wi-Fi until you turn the device back on, and then everything will work normally when your device is on. But there are some things that you can add back, like I put Hangouts and messaging. You don't have to worry about phone calls. You should get those regardless. But if you really go for the true stamina mode, you should probably be getting some pretty awesome battery life out of this thing. So I'm not so worried about battery life. Now on to processors. This is the first phone that I have seen with the S800. We're going to be seeing the G2 coming out soon, and that's going to be the real first official device LG and Qualcomm say with the S800. But honestly, Sony beat everyone to it. And here it is, the most powerful phone on the market right now. Qualcomm S800, 2.2 gigahertz. That is crazy. This device is really snappy. You've got Adreno 330, and it just purrs along. Gameplay is just really good. Need for Speed is very, very smooth. Now, if this device gets really hot, it can start to throttle. The CPU will start to throttle a little bit. So that basically means that if the phone is getting really hot, the processor frequency or the speed is going down a little bit. But still, I think that the first threshold is 1.5 gigahertz, and that's still really awesome. The GPU does not throttle at all though, so no matter how hot the device gets, you're still getting that full gameplay quality. I'm sure I'll have more of a chance to play around with this and see what it does to battery life. If anything's going to drain the battery, it's going to be excessive gameplay. But with a device this size and saturation this good, how could you not want to play all kinds of awesome games? So this is all I'm going to say for now. This has been more or less an impressions video, which kind of turned out almost like a review video, but hey, it's my obsessive compulsiveness kicking in. If you have any questions about the device, now would be the time before I have a chance to do a further review. Please go down to the comments area and type out those questions, and I can try to answer